Okay, here is part two of our look at calculator paper three. And next we have question 7 is a table about some cards. Alex is going to pick one card from each set and multiplies the numbers to get a score. So people get very confused when they see this kind of question, understanding the table that you're looking at. So basically, if you look along this top row, so here on this top row. So looking sort of specifically at these really. So these are the numbers that are on potentially on card one. And then for card two, we've got these numbers. So when Alex picks a card from the card one set, he could, for example, pick the card that says -5. And when he picks a card from the card two set, he could pick a card that says 2. And if he picks those two cards, if he multiplies the two numbers by each other, so 2 times -5 makes -10. So basically all we're doing here is where these two numbers meet, we're just multiplying them to get the answer in this table. So 2 times -5. So that is all we are doing here. 2 times -5 makes -10. So we've got some gaps in this table. So all you're doing here is you're saying, so in this box, it's going to be the answer to whatever 4 times -5 is. In this box here, it's going to be the answer to whatever 2 times -9 would be, etc. So that's how we're going to complete that table. Then part B says the probability that the score is negative is 0.5, which means there is a 5% chance the score is negative. Alex is incorrect. Explain why. Okay, so let me do that in a moment, because I think in a moment I'm going to have to put these answers in. So 0.5 means there is a 5% chance. Alex is incorrect. Explain why. So we're being asked here to explain why a 0.5 chance of something happening is not the same as a 5% chance. So here, if we just said something like, well, 0.5 chance is a 50% chance, not a 5% chance. That would be one way of answering it. Or you could say a 5% chance is the same as 5 out of 100, which is 0.05, not 0.5. So that would also explain that one. Now, to answer part C, we've got to fill in this table. So here's where some answers need to go in these. So 4 times -5, so that's going to be -20. 2 times -9, so -18. -6 times -9. Okay. Well, if it was 6 times -9, that'd be -54. So a minus times a minus makes a plus. So that's going to be 54. 8 times -9 is going to be -72. 4 times 11, 44. Minus 6 times 11 is going to be minus 66. And 8 times 11 is going to be 88. Okay, so having filled that table in, part C says Alex picks one card from each set. What is the probability that the score is 14? So when we look at the table, we're looking for where it says 14. So only once does it mention an outcome or a result of 14. So when Alex is picking the cards from these sets, there's only one way that he's going to end up with a final score of 14. So that is one way out of, if we look at it, we've got a total here of 4, 8, 12, 16. So there are 16 possible outcomes, and only one out of those 16 possible outcomes is going to result in a total score of 14. So therefore, the probability is going to be 1 out of 16. So 1/16th, if you want to put it as a fraction, or of course you can turn it into a decimal or percentage if you want. Shape and space question. Okay, so we've got a mirror in the shape of a rectangle with a semicircle on one of the shorter edges. Yes, we can see this, can't we? That what the diagram is suggesting here is that if we split this into two shapes, we've got a semicircle on the top, rectangle on the bottom. Okay, so quite standard thing, right? The radius of the semicircle is 30, which we can see. The longer edge of the rectangle is 85, which we can see. Now, the key bit in this question is these words here. To go around all the edges of the mirror. Now, when we talk about going around the edge of a shape, of course, that is not area. That is referring to perimeter. So where the start of this question really is trying to trick you into falling into the trap of thinking this is an area of compound shapes question, it's not. What this question is saying is that they want to put a trim around the edges of the mirror. So they want to put a trim around the edges, so all the way around the outside. So in other words, what they're asking you to do here is calculate the perimeter of this shape. So to answer this question, you're going to need to work out, we can see this is 85, so obviously this bit's going to be 85 as well. They're telling you the radius here is 30, so that you know this bit's going to be 30 as well. So that you're going to know that this bit at the bottom is going to be 60. Now, this 30 and 30 here is actually irrelevant in a way because that is, of course, not on the outside of the shape. So that's not going to be included as part of your perimeter answer. That information you were given there was purely so that you could work this figure out here. So you've got your 85, you've got your 85, you've got your 60 now. And then the bit that still needs to be worked out is the curved bit on the semicircle. So that, of course, is half the circumference of the circle. So you'd find half the circumference, you add that to the 85 and the 60, and you've got the perimeter of the mirror, the distance all the way around the outside of the mirror. Then once you've got that, you'll be able to answer the rest of the question. So quite a cunning question, which really level 2 questions are largely cunning questions. This question, we've got a coordinates question. So remember, with coordinates, it's your x coordinate goes first. So point B, to get to point P, we've got to go across 4 and then up 6. So your coordinates there is going to be 4, comma 6. Remember to put it in brackets. Remember to put the comma between those two numbers. If you don't do that, it's not a set of coordinates. They've kindly put the brackets here for you to make that a bit easier. They don't always do that. The next question, they're asking you to make a parallelogram. So you've got to remember what a parallelogram looks like. Of course, a parallelogram is one of those shapes where you've got two sets of parallel sides, like that sort of thing. He says, drawing it very roughly. So that's what you're going to need to try and form on that grid there. This question here, you've got loads of space for this one, which you really don't need. Andy and his brother, it takes 2 of them 6 days. How many days will 3 people take? So this question is inverse proportion. So if it takes 2 of them 6 days, that means it would be 12 days for one person just by doing 2 times 6, because it will take one person twice as long as it will take 2 people. And then once you know that, 3 people will take 3 times less long than one person because they'll do it 3 times more quickly. So then you're going to want to divide by 3 to get your answer. So very, very simple, actually. One of the easier kind of level 2 questions you could hope to get. Unlike this one, absolutely horrific. So is really thinking where to start on this kind of question. We can see it's about percentages. We can see here that it mentions median, so it's also about averages. We can also see that it's about money very much. As soon as you see that word median there, the first thing you're going to want to do is put those numbers in size order. Work out what the number in the middle is. That's going to be your median. And then use that median figure to work out the answer to the rest of the question. But if you don't start by finding the median on that question, the rest of it is going to go really badly wrong. So first thing you're going to want to do on that particular question, put your numbers in order of size. You must do that first, and then find the number in the middle. And then this final question in this final minute of the video, we've got this interesting shape, and we can see some references here. This very key reference here. Something is in square units, and it actually kindly mentions the word area as well. These tiles are going to go on the restaurant floor. Now, the only bit of the restaurant floor that is not going to be tiled is this bit here. So the easiest thing that you can do here, folks, is imagine this was one big rectangle. Work out the area of the rectangle by doing 10.2 times 7.7. Then find the area of the triangle you don't want, subtract that from the area of the rectangle, and then you've got the area that needs to be tiled, and go from there. Okay, thank you. End of video.